I am Michelle Lemonnier d'Ossemont, entomologist and president of the Mediterranean Entomological Study NGO.
I am Christian d'Ossemont, entomologist.
We discovered Peripodisma ceraunii from this mountain in 2014, and the species was assessed in 2016, 2 years later, as critically endangered, and therefore was the initial impetus for this project.
Thanks to the support of the IUCN, Global Wildlife Conservation, and of the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund, we raised funds that enabled us to form an Albanian team with our support in order to be able to develop a conservation plan for this species and to communicate to the public about this species for its conservation.
As a result of numerous in situ surveys, we were able to expand our knowledge on the distribution of the species on the massif, which at the beginning was only discovered in a few points of the Cika Mountain range. Peripodisma ceraunii is found only in the Ceraunian Mountains, from where it got the name ceraunii. The Cika area is located in the Ceraunian Mountains with a geographical distribution along the Albanian Riviera in alpine meadows. Cika Peak is the highest peak in the southern Albania, 2,045 meters above sea level. Cora Peak is the second highest peak at 2,018 meters above sea level. The area is included within the boundaries of the Logara National Park. Mediterranean climate characterizes this region with hot summers and dry, cold winters. Despite the proximity to the Mediterranean climatic region, an alpine climate prevails at Cika Peak. The species was found above 1,500 meters above sea level up to the summits. The stations with the highest abundance are located between 1,650 and 1,850 meters above sea level. The nymphs hatch in May. In May, June, and until mid-July, the grasshopper grows through 5 instars. By the end of July, couples are commonly observed in copula. Egg-laying occurs most commonly from early August, mainly in the late morning and early afternoon. Mating and oviposition take place in August, September, and until October, depending on altitude and weather conditions. While it sometimes seems to consume some graminae, the insect mainly is herbivorous, that it mostly feeds on plants with large leaves, mainly dicotyledons. The grasshoppers use stones for shelter and can easily hide, especially when the weather conditions are not optimal. Sexual dimorphism is pronounced, with female adults being larger than males but less colorful. The juveniles do not have a typical color and are quite homochromatic with the soil. The best conditions to observe the species are during sunny or partially sunny days, at the end of the morning, time to let the sun to warm the stones, until the afternoon. Male adults, smaller, are faster with long jumps, 1 to 3 meters, and females are slower with shorter jumps, generally less than 1 meter. Hello, I am Endora Selojai. I'm a biologist by profession and involved in environmental fields. I was part of this project on the endemic species of Cika Mountain as a junior expert, and then by continuing further study with experts in this field, I learned a lot by improving my expertise and becoming a better biologist. This is the part that I liked most from this project, because coming to Cika Mountain to search for a species gives you an even greater satisfaction, especially when you search and find that species. In terms of the impact that this project is bringing, in my opinion, Not only does it increase the endemisms at Ljogaira National Park, bringing the number of endemisms to 10, which are mostly plant species, it also includes this insect, which is endemic to Cika Mountain, and this will certainly play a very important role. The conservation of the species will require even greater work, and this project will ensure the protection of the species by including the endemic ones as part of management plans of the Regional Administration of Protected Areas, which will be the biggest helpers for the continuation of the species conservation. Pastoralism is a pretty complex issue in the sense that it deals with a high diversity of situations, which needs local diagnosis at different scales, with the decisive implication of local actors, especially the livestock farmers. They are the key players in building adequate knowledge of these local situations, problems, opportunities, trends, and threats. In the area of Cika, we do not currently have a large development of grazing. This is due to the difficult terrain conditions for the movement of livestock, composed only of goats and sheep, and a more dangerous area to stay due to a large number of lightning impacts during the summer. However, in the northern part of the mountain chain, the grazing pressure is much higher, certainly linked to an easier access. In this area, we are at the upper limit of acceptable grazing pressure. The livestock grazing can be a positive factor for the biodiversity when correctly managed, except for cattle, which always have a negative effect on this type of habitat. The grazing pressure is of major importance. It must not be suppressed and it must not be in excess. A good balance has to be reached, and it depends on the composition and size of flocks, the period of land use according to the altitude, and the way to manage grazing routes along the day. We are here with Luan, who is a collector of medicinal plants which are found in the Ljogaira National Park and mainly in the area of the Kore and Cika. Luan, we would like to ask you for how long you have been collecting plants and what are the main plants that you collect in our area.
I am 51 years old today. I have been collecting medicinal plants such as mountain tea, oregano, sage, elder, common hawthorn flower, and autumn crocus since I was 10 years old. My mother and I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, travel to the mountains and collect them. But now it's hard work because a lot of people manage to do very harmful things in our area where they uproot everything that then loses value and even loses vegetation. These plants are rare plants, very valuable because they are in a high mountain and by the sea, providing the effect of iodine and are bio or natural, not artificially planted at home as it is by the riverside or other places. They are from our area, especially Kora and the seaside. In the mountain of lightnings, Ceraunii Mountain, by the sea, there is a lot of iodine, so there is a strong smell in their processing, but it requires work during drying, where it is uprooted and must be dried in the sun, and the packaging is the second part. Then there is the effect of the way of cooking, where it is not thrown in boiling water. You have to boil the water, pour the amount you want, cover it, and drink it after 10 minutes. These are the most important things, and also always keep it in stock in a dry, packaged place that does not mold.
The important question related to this area is that your main source of income is plant collection.
I just earn from this. I also have agriculture, but I only live on these. I have my own licensed shop and I collect them myself.
Mainly what types do you sell?
Mountain tea, sage, oregano, wild rose, common hawthorn flowers, and elder.
During what period do you go out to collect the medicinal plants?
All through the year, starting from May with sage, oregano in May, June, then July and August for mountain tea. We continue in the autumn period with the wild rose and common hawthorn flowers. Almost all the time here is everything that you can collect.
Also during the winter?
During the winter not, until October.
During the winter what do you do?
We have the shop that we trade as well as some livestock and agriculture. But basically we have mountain plants which we collect throughout the spring. During the winter we also trade them with the conditions and clientele we have gained.
Do you have any message to give us on the protection of species in protected areas?
As I said from the beginning, it is related to the manner in which plants are collected. It takes a strong hand to collect plants in the protected areas without uprooting them in the wrong way, which would be a great loss for the area, and these are rare plants. Secondly, the protection of wild animals. The wolf makes damage but eats where he has to, and he needs his place. Also the protection of deer and wild pigs. There are many rare plants reaching about 300, and some more medicinal plants. This is what I know from my experiences. I'm not a scientist, but I have information. Lagora is called a protected area and must be protected with great effort.
Here we have Rebecca, who also represents the younger generation of this area, inheriting what her parents will leave her. Rebecca, can you give us a message about nature? We are the next generation. Please help us to make these plants live longer. Since when did the protection of the Lagora-Karaburun complex begin to be ensured? And what are the main species that you have started to monitor and to provide conservation plans for?
There are two different times of proclamation. Lagora National Park in 1966 as the second category, and at the same time the Karaburun Managed Nature Reserve of the fourth category in 1977. There are values that unite them, and for this we always include them as a single natural complex, Karaburun Lagora. As far as biodiversity values are known, at first to declare a protected area, the first step is biodiversity values, and then the other values, which are the values of culture or history. On biodiversity values, what we focus on most, which gives us the most pride in parks, are the endemisms, endemic plants, endemic animals. In our case, if we talk about Lagora National Park, it is the first place in Albania for endemic plants that counts up to 10, including other species that we have to do with the fauna, such as Cika Mountain grasshopper of Lagora. We started with 2 endemic species, but thanks to various projects, researchers, environmental experts in various fields, other very important species have been discovered. It is true that we are pleased that they have been added to us. It has become our job responsibility to monitor and conserve these species. And without experts, it is impossible to do the job because of the low number of people in administration. But the various monitoring protocols developed by different experts as well as action plans make it easier to work on how to manage protected areas.
To ensure better protection of different species, especially endemic ones, do you rely on special protocols or do you need a special conservation plan? In the case of the species in question, Peripodisma ceraunii, what do you need to provide the best protection of the species?
I think that endemics are a very good indicator to see the progress of the park, and in this case I think we are in the best direction of these monitorings. So the regional administration of protected areas of Vlore needs monitoring protocols which are drafted not only from the administration, but from experts and various projects that come to our aid. But what is very important, besides the monitoring protocols, which show the good management of a species and the good management of the park, are action plans in how an administration should act for the good conservation of the species or habitat, and at the same time cooperation with the regional administration of protected areas by experts in the field, but also with the users of the territory. Any action plan of a species cannot be made unless there is an interplay of relationships, agreements, and cooperation between these actors. That is, between the administration, which is the manager of the park, the local community, and the scientific research.
Do you have this cooperation with the users of the park, such as the collectors of medicinal plants and the many farmers?
The Life of Protected Areas Administration is pioneering. It is short. It has been operating for 6 years, and I think that during these 6 years we have worked hard to create the bridges of relations between these local actors, medicinal plant users, livestock farmers, beekeepers, who are the main users in Lagora Park, where the endemic species are focused and concentrated. Also with Lagora businesses are one of the main collaborators for the management of various problems we have, such as waste or fires. The Cika Mountain grasshopper is not a species we found, but was served to us by experts as an endemic species of the Cika Mountain. And what makes us more responsible for this type of monitoring or conservation of this species is because with these values, as Arenaria plant of the Cika and Cika Mountain grasshopper, Cika has become part of the Lagora National Park. It is the endemics and habitats that make an area receive special status. The importance of these endemic species, such as the Cika Mountain grasshopper, or other species are included in the Cika Mountain part of the national park. This is the value given to an area, endemic species habitat protected area. The main thing is that the endemic species is not only valuable to the park, but also a responsibility for the park, and to be such and to be an indicator of the progress of the park needs an action plan. The action plan is the one that regulates all activities for good conservation of the species. We think and hope that as soon as possible this action plan will be available from the experts, then the regional administration of protected areas of Vlore, as for the other protocols, can include in its calendar of activities the monitoring of the Cika Mountain grasshopper. Hello, I am Artion Safari. I work as a management specialist for the protected areas of the Vlore region. As Endora said, now that an endemic species has been added to the Lagora National Park, our job is to protect it, include it in the administration database, and work even harder to obtain other data for its protection. This will also be a value for the inclusion in the management plans, which are old and are being prepared for the issuing of new management plans.
Hello, Nico. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization and what is your role in protected areas?
As you said, I am Nico Dumani. I lead the Association for the Preservation and Protection of the Natural Environment in the district of Vlore. My association has been built since 1996 with the main object of preserving and conserving natural and urban areas and recognizing and studying the different types of faunal and floristic values that have protected areas, especially in the city of Vlore, as important areas for the development of tourism with the priority in the sustainable development of the region of Vlore. We have been working for several years and we are more or less experienced and knowledgeable regarding the protection and conservation of different ecosystems, but also of the fauna and flora of these ecosystems, protecting them from anthropic factors such as the problems of wrong interventions through projects in areas of special importance, especially in protected areas, but also by illegal activities caused by the community, where I can mention fires, illegal hunting, and logging. In general, this is the job in which we constantly raise our voice to confront the relevant legislation, as our support to raise our voice and protect everything I mentioned: ecosystems, protected areas, urban environments, based on our legislation, including EU legislation that we have applied. We have an obligation for European integration.
Generally, you have had projects focused on specific species. Can you tell us what your studies are and how they relate to these species?
I have an early study regarding Caretta caretta. This study was shared with the former Committee for the Protection of the Environment in Greece, specifically for the reproduction of the Caretta caretta sea turtle. As is known, the largest center for sea turtles is in Zakynthos. In the framework of the study that the Greek side has, but also the University of Rome, I have provided information not only by sending metal markers of some turtles found on our coast through cooperation with fishermen on the coast of Vlore. Also, we have made some biometric measurements and have sent information mainly where the turtles reproduce on the sandy beaches of Vlore, the size of individuals, the passage of the lethargic phase of sea turtles in the aquatic environment, the migration from the island of Zakynthos to the shores of our waters. We have other sporadic cases with some of the bird species such as pelicans and flamingos, which are presented as very special birds in the Vlore area.
Nico, as you are aware, we are studying Peripodisma ceraunii, which is endemic to Cika, or the Ceraunian Mountains. We would like to know how you, as a local NGO, can be included in the conservation plan of this species. Also, what specific role would you play in this conservation?
I'm familiar with the study you have conducted in collaboration with foreign experts, and what I find interesting and appreciate is the fact that our country is very rich in flora and fauna, and the most interesting is the addition of a new species that belongs to the class Insecta, invertebrates, and known to the Albanian language Karkalechi. As part of the list of species of Orthoptera is being added as an asset in the fauna of our country, and also the species Peripodisma ceraunii. We can contribute as benefactors and volunteers working on environmental problems, but also the relevant biodiversity of the environment and special ecosystems, where it can be especially for monitoring Peripodisma ceraunii, determining the area where it survives, and very interesting, in my opinion, is to take part in the study of the population dynamics of Peripodisma, for the fact that we are at the beginning of its study and determining the size and population. This period is a step to see in later studies what will be the trend for the transition of the population towards an increase or will decreasing under the influence of natural factors, but without excluding the anthropic factor with its wrong forms or development that the Albanian society has that can negatively affect, mentioning the fact that if in areas where Peripodisma is found, fires may occur which would further damage it. Meanwhile, in cooperation with the administration of protected areas, with the specialists of the administration, we can participate in the management plans of the Lagara National Park, as well as participate in the monitoring. Monitoring means some special links that can be realized in a working group. where according to a monitoring plan, we can participate to monitor the progress, factors that affect the population, and since we know that Peripodisma ceraunii feeds mainly on the species of verbascum, we can look at the population of verbascum and how this population goes that can affect the survival of Peripodisma and what may be some of the factors that harm verbascum on which Peripodisma feeds. This would be a collaboration, but that this collaboration should be more compiled even more clearly and better how we can contribute together either with specialists or with you who have conducted the study.
Can you give us one last message about the cooperation that can be realized with the administration and foreign experts to ensure the best possible protection of the species?
Today in the world we have rapid extinction of insect species, including orthopters. We should work together to carry out several stages related to either a protection plan or a joint management plan, and in particular to protect them against the negative impacts that may be for Peripodisma and raising public awareness of target groups who are likely to adversely affect the population size of Peripodisma. We would like to thank the Albanian team for all the work they did, in particular Endora, who enabled us to carry out a workshop which brought together all the stakeholders involved in the protection of this endemic species of the massif, and also thanks for the great support from RAPA, the Regional Administration of Protected Areas.